I'll do my intro now then.
Can't smile straight away.
It's the worst bit of the video because it's just the unnatural bit.
Yeah.
It's the scripted bit. The scripted bit.
One, innit?
Yeah, the only scripted bit is the hardest bit. The rest of it is just me working.
You have to do it yourself in the car.
It's hot in here, man. Right. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a C63. It's got a really bad misfire. Customer has attempted to fix it himself. So far it's been unsuccessful. That's why it's with us. And that's not having a go at anyone for trying to fix their own car. That's, you know, a lot of us are enthusiasts as well, and especially C63 guys like to have a go at stuff themselves. So far it's had a set of coil packs and a set of injectors. It's never a bad thing having new injectors on these, as we've explained in a previous video. I'll leave the link down below. Let's get it in, plug it in. And Reese can help us push this time because he always seems to get away with not pushing cars on these videos. Reese, give us a push for this car, mate. Right, so we've pushed the car in and plugged the car in. We've got fault codes for pretty much every cylinder. So, car's obviously running terrible. Just had a quick look in the boot and we've got, like I said, full set of coils, a full set of injectors and a full set of spark plugs. Not a good start really. I think we're gonna take everything out, take the coils out, take the plugs out. First thing I'm gonna do is a compression test. Right, the boys have took everything off, do a compression test on all 8 cylinders, get some results, and then start from there. So we'll start at cylinder 1, work our way down, see what we've got. Cylinder 1, Reese, cylinder 1, 180 PSI, that's good, that's what we want. Wait. Yep, 3, same. The most common injector I know for sticking open on this seems to be cylinder 8.
It's going to be the last one we get to.
No, I'm going to do it. Cylinder 4, 0.
Number 8, most common one.
Oh, number 8, so on, mate. Absolutely big fat 0. So what does that tell you, boys?
Engine bad.
Engine very bad. Cylinder 4, 0 compression. Not good. This is going to be a short video, this, isn't it? Could have bent a valve or something, if you're lucky. Crank it. Can't crank from here. I've got long arms, but they ain't that long. Right, compression test done. 1, 2, 3, good. 4, very bad. 5, 6, 7, 8, all good, all matching, which is good but not good. So I'm just going to do a bit of investigation work. I'm going to get the old spark plugs out of the boot and just inspect them, see if we can identify which one was cylinder 4 to see if it's got any damage to the tip. I have a feeling the old injector in cylinder 4 has stuck open, pumped the cylinder with fuel, pistons come up and damage is done. Hence why we did that video. This car has done 85,000 miles. It's got the rear blinds in this.
I know, it's a good one. It's got rear blinds as well.
Yeah. Good them, aren't they? That's a great option, that.
Good for a C.
Right, let's have a look at these plugs. Right, took all the plugs out. It was close, that, mate. Took all the plugs out. They all actually look brand new. I have a feeling we might have even fitted these on the last service. maybe, maybe not. I'd have to have a look. However, number 4 has already been labelled. They've obviously figured out that the fault is on number 4 prior to the car arriving. Maybe. Yeah. There's a reason behind that, isn't there? We need to put a camera down into the cylinder, see if we can see any damage. Right, I've had a look inside with the camera, and from what I can make out, it looks like we have got a bent valve. So it looks like there's been a lot of fuel in here as well. So I'll see if I can show you. It's hard to tell. On that side it looks open, and if I twist it to the other side, very slanted and practically closed. Which would explain why we've got no compression. To confirm, we'd have to take the rocker cover off, take the cylinder head off, and inspect for further damage. From what I can tell, there doesn't seem to be any damage to the cylinder, but you can't tell for sure until we get in there and have a look at what's going on. So this isn't great news. Yeah, so we're gonna have to start stripping the engine down to investigate how much damage is there, because best case scenario is, you know, cylinders filled up with fuel, pistons come up, valves come down and it's bent it. That's best case scenario. So head off, new valve, all the bits and pieces back together, back up and running. That'll be best case scenario. We will just pull the oil filter out and just check for any metal debris in there as well, because if there is, that's not looking good. So we took the filter out and there is metal debris in there. I have no idea if you can see that on camera, but there is metal in the filter. So that's not good news either. When you're in a situation like this, it's hard to be, you can't just ring a customer and say, this is what's wrong with it, this is what it's going to be to fix it, because it's all inside the engine. So obviously we've not got x-ray vision, so these are the simplest tests we can do to identify as much as we can, but really you've got to get in there and see what's going on. Not looking good for this C63. Right, so we've spoke to the customer and customers give us authorization to get involved and see what's going on. As I explained, like, there's only so much you can do with some of the basics tests. So we've got some more labour authorised. We've took the rocker cover off and we've found the camshaft has worn out, intake camshaft, and one of the buckets slash tappets has worn out and the camshaft has worn through it, so that valve is stuck down. So the bucket has been going up and down and then stuck down, and that's it. So that's where valve and piston contact has probably happened. In fact, there's a piece there. So that is a piece of the tappet that's come out. That will also explain the metal debris in the oil filter. So next stage is to take the camshaft out, assess the damage a bit further, and obviously we're going to have to take the cylinder head off as well. Then we can determine, can we get away with new camshaft, tappets and some new valves, or have we got piston damage as well? Right, so we've got the camshaft out and we can see that there's a massive hole in the tappet. On the rest of the tappets you can feel across the middle where they've all been wearing. It's worn that bad, it's stuck down, and then we've had valve and piston contact. So we'll pull a few of these out and then we can show you what's been going on. Like Terminator's eye when he gets shot in the eye, innit? So as you can see, great big hole in that. The camshaft's just worn it away, or vice versa. So if you look at that compared to, I won't say a good one, I'll say a better one. But you can see the rings on that. You can feel it, how it's not perfectly smooth. Some are worse than others. You can really feel that one. And then that's the end result. The top of that valve has just been absolutely battered compared to its neighbour. So head's going to have to come off. We're going to take the rocker cover off the other side and assess the tappets and camshafts on that side. I can get a bit of an idea then of what's going on. This valve does actually look closed now, so I might just put my camera back down the spark plug hole to see if it's now closed. Either way, it's not looking brilliant. Hopefully we can get away with just cylinder head work and not bottom end work. Keep our fingers crossed. Right, so we've took off the rocker cover on the left hand bank and we've got the same problem. The intake camshaft in the back corner, the lobe has worn off. You can see there. Same problem is occurring here. We definitely need 2 camshafts, a full set of buckets / tappets, whatever you want to call them. Hopefully we've got no piston damage. From what I could see when we put the camera down, I couldn't see any damage. I'm going to put it back down and see if that valve's closed. Hopefully we've got no cylinder head damage. So we found more problems, but it's the only way you can assess what's going on. Unfortunately, there's a lot of different theories as to why this happens on this engine. A lot of people say it's the material on the camshaft, some people say it's the material on the tappet. I personally think it's a combination of both. I think the angle of the cylinder head is quite severe, so the top camshaft is getting the least amount of lubrication, especially when these cars aren't used frequently because all the oil's just running down. If you look at another V8, the angle's not as severe, but I'm pretty sure people will leave comments what they think, but that's my opinion. And that is one inlet manifold off. Now the inlet manifold's off, you can see down into the intake manifolds, and obviously we've got no cams in, and they all do look shut, to be fair. So when I originally thought there's a bent valve, I could be wrong. That's the PCV valve at the back of the engine. That's a common item to fail. That'll definitely be getting replaced while we're in here. There's going to be lots of while you're in ears on jobs like this, and you know, it's knowing where to draw the line, because this is not going to be a cheap bill. So next job is unbolt the manifolds, timing chain tensioner out. Got a couple of pins to pull out of the front to release the sprocket off the head bolts, and then we can pull the cylinder head off. There you go. There. One alternator. That's tight, that. So you've got to remove the alternator to gain access to the timing chain tensioner, but that is tight. Why is it so tight, man? Oh. So I'm just undoing the timing chain tensioner. Been a long while since I've stripped one of these engines down. Come on. Jeez, it's long. Wait. Timing chain tensioner. Right, now we can take out the guide pins that hold the guides to the head. Otherwise we can't get the head off. Then we can take head bolts out and then we can get this cylinder head off. We're just taking this side off for now to see what's going on. I've just realised that I can't get my special tool into the sliders without removing the water pump, so I've got to take the water pump off now as well. I was saying I've not done one of these for a while, so I need to refresh my memory a bit. So I'll get this water pump out. There we go. It's important when you're doing a water pump to make note of where the bolts have come from, because a lot of times they are different lengths. So I'd recommend putting them back where they came from. You can see there, different lengths. You don't want to get that wrong going back on. One out, another one to go, and then the centre one for the head sprocket. Another one. So there's 3 different sizes. There's an M8, an M6, and that big one. For this centre one that goes through the timing gear which holds the chain, there's a little Allen key down the middle which you have to undo first. Very easy to miss. That came from inside there. So that's now loose. So we can now get the head bolts undone, which this will have, it's a 58 plate, so it'll have the old style head bolts, which obviously you have to replace head bolts, and you'll get the upgraded versions when it goes back in. So I'll show the difference in them, should we get that far. Come on. Right, all the head bolts are out. Time to lift the head off. Right, so we've got the head off. We are looking good. Doesn't seem to be any piston damage. There is bits on the sidewall, but no big chunks of any sort. So I'm going to give that a clean out and see what's what. Yeah, there's literally just bits. I have a feeling we might be good. As I thought, the valves are now all closed. I did think there was a bent valve, but there isn't. It's so difficult to inspect these things through the camera sometimes. I know some people is probably commenting saying, oh, you said this and then you've said that and da 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 da. You can only go off what you can see, and when there's a fault inside an engine you can't see much. So valves are shut. We obviously have to take the cylinder head off to ensure there's no cylinder wall damage. So let's get it all cleaned up, give it a good inspection, and hopefully we've got some good news for the customer, because that would be That'd be nice. And then we'd have to repeat the same procedure on the other side. At the moment I've got it locked up, timing's locked up. Take that head off and do both sides. So now the head's out properly. You can see the damage to the cylinder head there. So basically we're going to have to speak to the machine shop because the bucket won't slot back in there, to see if they can do anything with it, just as a demonstration purpose. That's how easy it should slide in and out. And that is getting to there and it's getting stuck basically. So I'll give the pistons a wipe down. They've actually come up really good for literally a 60-second wipe down. Piston walls, and there's no damage. I'm just having a good feel around it with my hand. Can't feel anything. Nice and smooth. Good news, bottom end is good. I've obviously got that problem where the bucket goes into cylinder 4 on the cylinder head. I'll have to speak to the engineering shop to see can they do anything about that. Be a shame if they can't, because we need a new cylinder head. I don't know, so far so good. Is it so far so good? It's not good that this has happened, but it could be worse. We could be into a complete engine. You know, if that cylinder wall was damaged, that's it. We'd be looking for a new engine. Right, just to summarise things up so far, we've now got the left-hand side cylinder head off. Everything's fine. One of the tappets on that had a really bad groove in it as well, so that one wasn't far behind. We need to get a price together of how much it's going to be. With a job like this, it's hard to give like a specific price down to the pound, because there's always bits and bobs you need, so it's always between this and that. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of the pricing at the end. And again, I can't price it accurately because I don't know if I need a cylinder head for the driver's side because of that damage that's not allowing the tappet to go in and out. Obviously there's nuts and bolts and parts all over the show. We're going to get a rough estimate together for the customer, make sure he wants to proceed, because at the moment it's just all been labour to strip it all down. Hopefully he says yes, otherwise all this will be getting boxed up and given back to him. And see what the machine shop says. Hopefully all goes well, and then the rebuild can commence. Right, it's probably about, I don't know, 3 weeks later since removing the heads. We've gathered up a load of parts. We've sent the heads off for examination, we'll call it, and we are having a slight issue. One of the valve guides is damaged, and you cannot buy guides for this engine, this cylinder head. That's a valve guide. That is what the valve goes through. Check loads of suppliers, check with Mercedes, it's not something to do. You can basically buy a guide for any Mercedes engine apart from this. I'm presuming that's because this is a AMG engine rather than a Mercedes engine that's been tuned. This is AMG made this engine from the ground up, I believe. Could be wrong. We are in talks with the machine shop to see if they can make one or find somebody that can make one. However, it doesn't stop us making progress. We've got a couple of while you're in there things we can do whilst the heads have been taken away. I have bought a voltage regulator for the alternator that fits in the back of the alternator. Alternator has been removed to do this job. You know, it's the mileage, I wouldn't say the mileage is getting high, but we may as well change it. It'd be interesting to see how much the brushes have worn on the regulator to the new one. So that's a good while we're in their job. And the customer has also bought camshaft adjuster rebuild plates. So we need to strip the cam adjusters down,
put new plates in and rebuild them. That's another good one to do. There was nothing wrong with his, but we're going to do it anyway. So it'd be interesting to see if there was or is any wear there. So that's the new voltage regulator. As you can see how long the brushes are. So basically, as they wear down, once they've worn out, the car will stop charging, and you can buy just that without replacing the alternator. So it's a good, cheap fix if alternator stops charging the car. 9 times out of 10, it's just that, especially if it's not a high mileage car. If it done like 300,000 miles, I'd just put a full alternator on it, because the shaft in the alternator is probably worn out as well. But on something like this, you're probably good to go. This is my £13 eBay special socket set, which is great for doing jobs like this because you don't have to go back and to your toolbox all the time. So I've just took the cover off, and I was explaining the shaft. Obviously that shaft is spinning round, touching those brushes, so naturally the brushes wear out. So you actually get new bolts with the kit, so I think that's about 70-80 quid. It's giving your alternator a new lease of life, and you even get new bolts. There you go. And as you can see, got the length difference in that. So as you could see, that voltage regulator is probably halfway through its life, well, maybe more. So that is definitely a future fault fixed now. Well worth it. There we go. Semi-refurbished alternator whilst we're in there for 80 quid. And as you can see by the brushes on the old one, it's well worth doing. Customer is happy for me to do whatever while we're in there jobs I see fit. Obviously I'm trying to keep this repair bill as realistic as possible, because you know you could go absolutely crazy, but that is a definite for me. If you're ever taking your alternator off to do a big job, fit a voltage reg, all the little things that help the job along the way. Right, next up, customer has bought 63 Motorsport cam adjuster repair plates. Mercedes only sell the full adjuster at £1,000 each, roughly. This is a Canadian company. I have used this company before in the past. I have used these plates before in the past. I've never had a problem. It's a great, cheaper alternative to replacing the whole adjuster just to replace the worn plate. We'll show you how to replace one, and then it's repeat process times 3. We're not going to do all 3 on camera. So this is the worn out camshaft, so I'm happy handling it on this bench. Once you remove the adjuster off the cam, you have got to be very careful, because there's a tiny wafer thin washer there, which doesn't look like there is. Those bolts are also one-time use bolts, so you have to replace that as well. See it moving? That doesn't look like a washer, does it?
No, that looks like a part of the unit.
Yeah. That is so thin. Very easy to forget that's there, or even lose it and it go down the engine. Very important. I'm going to use this back. Got to be very careful when you do these, because straight away that plastic peg, you can see where that's been. That moves on that section there. That goes in that spring. Take that spring out. And then you've got the locking pin which goes inside there, which would fit inside that plate. So as you can see, that pin slots in there, and you can see the wear where it's been sliding. So if you compare that hole to one of those, you can see there's no wear at all. That is very early signs. There's been no rattles from this car at all, but that is very early signs. And the pin can wear as well, but with 63 Motorsport you get a new pin, so you replace the plate and the pin. Match the plate up. Intake and exhaust plates are different and you can fit them wrong. Right, so now we need to give everything a nice clean, reassemble, and that's one done, and then another 3 to go. So that's my new plate with my new pin. Put that in. Then you've got the black plastic tab which goes in that hole. I've given everything a clean off, and I've just put a thin layer of oil over everything just to make it easier for reassembly. So I'll zip them down and torque them in. I'll have to take them into the other garage to torque them down. I'll have to put it in the vise. I think the torque setting is 20 Newton meters. I could be wrong. I'm going to check that before I tighten them up. So that's the first one done. 3 to go. Obviously we're going to replace the bolt, and we're going to replace the tiny little shim. Get the rest done, all in preparation for the heads coming back. Right, it's been a good few weeks since we've had an update on the C63. We have got all our parts ready, all our gaskets, bolts, camshafts, you name it, we've got everything ready to go. We are having difficulty getting the cylinder head fixed because the valve guide is damaged, as I've already explained. We are trying to get it fixed because we don't want to invest in a new cylinder head. I was planning on doing this in a full video, but it would mean we're not going to put any content out for a while. I'm going to split it into part 1 and part 2. So this one is diagnosing and stripping the engine. The next one will be rebuilding. Plus it might have been a bit too long, so let us know, is half an hour enough, or would you prefer it to be a full hour? Be interesting to know. We've never done an hour's long video, however we have got one coming up. Keep an eye out for that one. Anyway, so give us, I don't know, a month maybe, and we might have it back together and a video edited and made, hopefully. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thanks for everyone's support on the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.